Are you tired of feeling confused and overwhelmed by your spiritual awakening and never getting any real answers? Because I've been there myself, and after guiding my clients through their awakening, I've discovered what actually makes the journey easier and more meaningful, and what can make it even harder. So in this video, I'll go over what a spiritual awakening really is, the 5 stages of awakening, most common and not often talked about challenges, and proven tools to make your experience more calm, clear, and purposeful. Most people actually misunderstand what a spiritual awakening is, so to make sure you're not missing out on anything crucial, let's make sure we're on the same page. There's a story I love about a group of blind men who were told that a strange animal, an elephant, had been brought to their town. None of them knew what it was or what it looked like, so they said, "We must inspect it by touch." One man touched its trunk and said, "It's like a thick snake." Another felt its ear and said, "No, it's a fan." Another one touched its leg and said, "Actually, it's a pillar." Another one placed his hand on the side and said, "It's a wall." Someone else grabbed the tail and said, "It's a rope." And the last man touched its tusk and said, "It's a spear." Each of them was right, but also incomplete. And that's exactly how it is with a spiritual awakening. People will describe it differently depending on what part of it they've touched so far. Some will tell you that a spiritual awakening is pure bliss. It's the moment you merge with the universe and you realize that you are this big, great consciousness with no start and no end. You feel connected with everything and you feel this infinite love. Other people will tell you that it's a curse, it's nothing but darkness and pain, and that they wish they had never had it happen to them. It's just misery. And then you can take somebody else and they will say it turns your world upside down, it ruins your relationships, and makes you question your whole life and everything about it. But the truth is, they're all describing the same elephant. A spiritual awakening is the elephant, and it has many different parts. And here's how I see it. A spiritual awakening is an experience where you are awakened to a higher level of awareness and consciousness. You wake up from a state of sleeping, a state of ignorance, autopilot, unawareness, and into a state of connection. Connection to yourself, to the essence of who you really are, and connection to something greater than you. Whether you call it the universe, God, source, spirit, or something else doesn't matter. What matters is that you realize there's more than just the small human part of you. And while that sounds beautiful, the process is rarely simple or easy. Because during an awakening, you're faced with yourself. You're faced with past traumas, with the things you've ignored, with the parts of your soul that need healing in this lifetime. So yes, an awakening is waking up to a greater awareness and consciousness. But it's not just one thing. It's a process with many different elements, with many layers and many faces, just like the elephant. From my experience, a spiritual awakening is everything. It is pain, darkness, love, destruction, joy, growth, confusion, pleasure. It's all of it. And depending on where in the spiritual awakening you are, and if you've been stuck in a certain stage, like pain for a while, you will judge your whole awakening experience from that angle. But there's a framework that can help you better understand where in the spiritual awakening process you may find yourself. Now, everyone's awakening is unique, but after going through it myself and working with clients, I've noticed a clear pattern that can help make sense of what you're experiencing. And it falls into 5 stages. But the most important thing is to remember that this process isn't linear. I wish it was this easy and we would progress through all the stages in a linear way, but you may jump back and forth between stages, you might skip one and then come back to it months or years later. The experience of a spiritual awakening is hard to fully describe, so these 5 stages are more of a compass that will help you orient yourself better, but each person will experience it differently and it's not all set in stone. Let's start with the very first stage, the moment everything starts to shift. I remember one client telling me, I got everything I thought I wanted. The career, the relationship, the apartment, and yet I feel empty. I sit at my desk and just feel this quiet panic, like, is this really it? Is there all there is to my life? Another client of mine had the rug pulled from underneath her. Her long-term partner left her unexpectedly, and at the same time, her boss decided to let her go. Everything she thought she knew, everything she thought she had stability in, was gone. The first stage of an awakening is the call to wake up, and it happens in one of two ways. Either gradually, where you begin to feel the discomfort creeping in, something in your soul whispering, wake up, there's more, this isn't it. Or if your soul needs a drastic wake up, life will pull the rug from underneath you. A health crisis, your partner leaving, a loss of a job or a home, events that make you feel like the earth opened up and you're free falling into a sort of abyss. The stage feels uncomfortable on purpose. It shakes you out of your autopilot and forces you to start noticing. Because I want you to think of it as being in a very deep sleep. So some people may wake up from a sleep only when slightly disturbed because they're light sleepers, and others will need to be shaken by the shoulders to finally wake up because their sleep is so deep, it feels like a coma. To navigate this stage, you need to start small and take it easy. There will be a lot happening and it can be extremely overwhelming. So observe what's going on. Pay attention to where your energy goes up or down and notice what triggers you. The biggest tool I can give you is to start writing a paper journal or a digital journal because there is so much information making its way to you. You're having so many experiences. Many of them will be very emotional. So keep writing it all down. Not only is it going to help you keep track of what's going on, but it will also reduce your cognitive load because you will be quite literally leaving things on paper and freeing up your mental space. I've done it for years, actually for more than a decade, and I swear by it. And it's also something I recommend to every single client that I work with. And they can all confirm that documenting and writing down everything that's happening to you actually helps you process it. There's not much action that you would be able to take in this stage other than observing, noticing, and doing your best to stay afloat as you go down this fast stream, just because it's a shakeup, there's a lot going on, and you can't do much about it other than observe it. And once you start noticing all the shakeups in your life, you begin to enter the second stage. This next stage is both exhilarating and terrifying because you start to realize that there's more to existence than just the physical material world, and this shift opens the door to profound self-awareness. However, this stage is not just about discovering something new. It's really about confronting the parts of yourself that have been hidden, ignored, or suppressed. The second stage in the spiritual awakening is facing yourself. And boy, oh boy, is this stage incredibly tough. You are going to be constantly faced with triggers, reflections of your unhealthy patterns and behaviors. Hidden and unresolved traumas will make their way up to the surface, and you will be very emotional in this stage. Common experiences during this stage include questioning your beliefs, habits, thoughts, societal norms and choices, experiencing moments of deep self-reflection, often triggered by unexpected events, books, or interactions with others, feeling overwhelmed by emotions or truths you've been avoiding up until now, tiredness and exhaustion as you process lots of new information. This stage requires a lot of courage because you have to face yourself in order to grow and to heal. And I think it's okay to say this since we're being very honest on this channel, but I freaking hated this stage. It was frustrating, emotional, overwhelming. I couldn't stop crying. I felt the most anger I've ever felt in my life. I had to constantly reflect on things. I was shown dark sides of myself and faced a lot of negative beliefs and illusions. And things that can help you better navigate this stage are leaning into support. If you have the ability to work with somebody who's gone through this journey before, jump on it because they are going to show you the ropes and they will be your anchor amidst this very confusing storm. Read books and find resources that will help you bring clarity on what you're going through. It will also make you feel less alone or crazy. And lastly, once again, I'm repeating myself, track and express what you're going through. Don't hold it all inside. Release it onto a page or into a voice note or a video diary, because you need to really reduce the cognitive load and that heaviness in your mind. And once you begin facing yourself, the real clearing begins. If you are currently, or if you've been in this stage, I'm really not sure what to say other than I'm sorry and good luck. And if you are on your way to it, then hold on tight, because the third stage in the spiritual awakening is one of profound release and transformation. This stage is when old emotions, unresolved traumas, and deeply ingrained patterns rise to the surface. It can feel like a storm. It's very intense, messy, unpredictable, but it's also incredibly liberating, because this stage is about clearing away what no longer serves you to make space for healing and growth. So in the second stage, you are faced with yourself, right? And in the third stage, you have to do the work to clear it and to heal it. I like to refer to this stage as the purging and healing stage. You experience a wave of emotions such as grief, anger, sadness, and you confront past experiences or beliefs that you've carried for your whole life. Physical sensations like fatigue or tension are also common with these emotional releases, as they often refer to ascension symptoms. While this can feel overwhelming, exhausting, and sometimes scary, it's a natural part of a spiritual awakening process. Think of the purging process as stirring up all the gunk and sediment that has been sitting deep within your subconscious at the bottom. So you're stirring it up and now it's coming to the surface. This third stage is also where many people experience the so-called dark night of the soul. And common experiences in this stage include emotional release, such as crying, sudden waves of sadness, anger, shock, relief, beginning to see the unseen, like toxic relationships, habits, beliefs, or environments, confronting and processing deep-seated fears, guilt, or shame. To navigate this phase of spiritual awakening, focus on practices that support emotional and energetic clearing. These might include journaling, energy healing, breath work, meditation, nervous system regulation, or therapy. When I entered this third stage, I started working more with my astrologer, who was excellent at helping me see the bigger picture of why I was going through such a profound transformation. And I also started weekly sessions with my spiritual coach. I also really looked for friends and community that have gone through this process themselves, because I felt like I needed to be surrounded by those who could tell me it's okay, you're gonna be okay, and you'll get to the other side. Remember, the pain you release during this phase is not who you are. You are just releasing that which was never the real or true you. But after the storm of purging and release, a new kind of energy settles in the next stage. After the intensity of purging, this fourth stage brings a sense of grounding and stability as you align your new awareness with your everyday life. It's a time of transformation where spiritual truths are no longer just these insights, but they actually become a way of living. You have descended into, the depths of your psyche, or your own personal hell, as I often call it. And now you have come out to the other side. So you have insights and knowledge that no one can actually take away from you. And you've done a lot of inner work. And in this fourth stage, the focus shifts from releasing and healing to integrating the lessons you've learned. You now begin to embody the wisdom you gained in the previous stages. And you might notice changes in your habits, in relationships and mindset, which now will kind of reflect your deeper alignment with your higher self. This transformation and this stage is powerful, but it also comes with the challenges of balancing spiritual understanding with demands of your physical existence. Integration requires patience and a lot of self-compassion as you start to balance your inner growth with your outer world. And please don't be surprised if in this fourth stage you also feel empty. And what do I mean by empty? Integration and transformation is powerful, and there are a lot of beautiful and empowering aspects to it. But at the same time, many people can experience what's called the void. And the void is this in-between stage. You've done the heavy lifting and you went through a really dark time, and now you're transitioning into purpose, integration, love, and alignment. But as you are integrating the insights you've gained, with your physical and very human life, many people find themselves feeling empty. They're happier, they're more at peace, but they also feel empty of goals, of aspirations, and of purpose. And this void, this in-between stage between the old you and the new you, is a recharge. So at the same time as you're working through the integration and you're going to feel more positive emotions, you may also feel slightly lost or disoriented as you're not sure where to turn next, and that's totally normal. Common experiences in this stage also include feeling more aligned and authentic in your decisions, gradually releasing lingering habits or relationships that conflict with your spiritual truths and insights, finding joy in everyday moments as you connect to life in a more meaningful way, and at the same time feeling this empty, quiet space that's lacking any motivation or any goals. It seems counterintuitive to feel more joy and alignment, but also to feel like you're not sure what to strive for or what actions to take, but you need to wait this out. It's the calm after the storm, because you're going to orient yourself with time and you're going to be able to find your next steps. It just takes time. To navigate this fourth stage, focus on grounding practices specifically, such as spending time in nature, setting daily intentions, grounding meditations, and overall cultivating mindfulness. And please allow yourself to celebrate the transformation you've gone through and the lessons that you have learned. Because we often focus on the next thing we need to work on or to heal or to fix, but it's so important that you take the time to see how far you've come and to really take it all in. Because the inner work is never done, and even though you have gone through the hardest parts of awakening, now the work is on integrating all the insights and on living according to this new wisdom. And this is also a great time to join courses, community, sharing circles to help you live and integrate this newfound knowledge and transformation, and also share it with others. As you learn to balance your inner growth with everyday life, you reach a point where transformation gives way to something even greater. At this final stage, you experience a profound shift in perspective. It's a realization that you are deeply connected to everything in the universe. And this stage is not just about understanding spiritual truths, it's about embodying them in a way that transforms your entire being. You feel forever changed, as cheesy as it sounds, and you start to live with a sense of peace, purpose, and unity with all of life. You may also feel called to share these insights with others through teaching and maybe seeking new friendships or communities. And you may have new goals and motivations that begin to pop up, a certain project you want to work on, a certain mission that you want to contribute to. The final stage is one of expanded consciousness. The ego takes a back seat and your higher self becomes the guiding force. And you're going to notice that your intuition sharpens, synchronicities become much more common, almost everyday experiences, and you feel more in tune with the natural flow of the universe. The sense of unity very often extends to others, and you may have a desire to serve and to contribute to a bigger mission to help others. Common experiences in this stage include a sense of unity and openness with the world, deep peace and acceptance, regardless of external circumstances, a strong sense of purpose and alignment with your soul's journey, and the desire to share it with others, to do work that helps the collective, and having new goals and motivations that will help contribute to the well-being of the world and others. This phase is not at all about perfection, but about living in alignment with your higher self and the greater good. So if you go through all the 5 stages, your spiritual awakening is complete, right? Our inner work is never complete. You will always have more things to learn about yourself, more shadows to face, more triggers to overcome. And I want you to think of a spiritual awakening like life waking you up from a very, very deep sleep, a coma. It's the initiation, it's a wake-up call. However, there are still places in our life where we're still taking some little naps, so to say. You know, we are so grand and we're so complex that there will always be something else to shine a light on or awareness to. There will be something else to learn and grow in. So this work is never fully done. You will continue to grow, evolve, heal, and transform. And that's a beautiful thing. And the work that you've done and the insights that you've gained during your spiritual awakening will serve as a foundation. And after all the growth and insight, one big question may still keep you up at night. People email me all the time, sharing different experiences and asking me if they're losing their minds. And every time when I respond, I say, I felt the exact same thing and I experienced the exact same thing. There is a lot that happens during a spiritual awakening and it can feel like you're going crazy. But I really want to reassure you that what you're experiencing is part of a spiritual awakening and you are not going crazy. You are not losing your mind. I hear that all the time. So I'm going to share a very quick rapid fire list of what you may experience as you go through a spiritual awakening. Intrusive, negative, and overwhelming thoughts, very high anxiety and stress, panic attacks, becoming incredibly sensitive to other people, sounds, and environments, feeling exhausted, tired, and very low in energy, having unexpected sensitivities to certain foods, drinks, or alcohol, things you were able to tolerate in the past, ringing in your ears and hearing high-pitched noises, inability to sleep or restless, bad sleep, often with nightmares. You're processing a lot of things and information during a spiritual awakening, and your system is overwhelmed. So don't be surprised if you're experiencing all of these mental, physical, and energetic disturbances. The most important thing is to focus on facing yourself, noticing emotional and energetic blocks, and clearing them away. If you're feeling overwhelmed by all of these changes as you navigate a spiritual awakening, remember, what you're experiencing is a normal part of awakening. But here's something most people don't expect. As you awaken, you might find yourself naturally letting go of certain habits and behaviors. So if you've ever wondered, is it normal to want to quit certain things? Or if you were worried about what you might be leaving behind, you're not alone. Understanding why these changes happen and what they really mean is key to embracing your growth. So watch this video next where I share 5 habits highly spiritual people let go of after their awakening and why it's a powerful sign of your growth.